Is there another way? Is there another hour? Overwhelming sadness, agonizing sorrow. I struggle to let go, give it all away. Time is coming closer. Gethsemane surrender. Gethsemane surrender. Compelling invitation. Gethsemane surrender. Pray a while with me. Our hearts are getting ready in the garden of forgiveness. Redemption story of love unfolds. Release my stubborn fear, the need to self-preserve, accept humiliation, face the bitter pain. A solitary road is mine and mine alone. Time is coming closer. Gethsemane surrender. Gethsemane surrender. Compelling invitation. Gethsemane surrender. Pray a while with me. Our hearts are getting ready in the garden of forgiveness. Redemption story of love unfolds. Take this cup from me. Take this cup from me. Gethsemane surrender. Compelling invitation. Gethsemane surrender. Pray a while with me. Our hearts are getting ready in the garden of forgiveness. Redemption story of love unfolds.
Thank you so much for joining me for this Journeys in Melody episode.
Great to be with you, Double.
And that was a song that reminds us, it takes us back to the Garden of Gethsemane, where he was almost at the end and he went to that garden to pray. And for him, it was a heavy burden to carry for us. Tell us what inspired you writing that beautiful song.
Yeah, it was during the pandemic, and I wasn't traveling as much for my day job with Room 217, the music care that I do. And I was working with my spiritual director on completing the Ignatian exercises. I don't know if you know what those are. It's an ancient kind of practice where you work with your spiritual director, walking through the life, well, the birth, the life, the ministry, the death, and the resurrection of Jesus. And it took for me about 10 months, an hour a day, personally meeting with Jesus and, just experiencing his, as I say, that trajectory of his life and sort of getting inside those stories in a bit of a different way. Lots of prayer, lots of contemplation, lots of reflection. And I gotta say, when I got to Gethsemane surrender, I lingered there for quite some time because I just think it's this human thing of for all of us of letting go, releasing control, letting our stories into and releasing them to the larger story. And like Jesus had to do it. You know what I mean? Jesus
Yeah.
had to do it. And he, it was agony. Like it was, take this cup from me. He said it 3 times, and like not just sweat, but sweat blood. You know what I mean? Like that is just not some little release. That's major. And of course, we know kind of the story where he actually was giving up his life and was going to go be completely misunderstood at the least, you know what I'm saying? And then the crucifixion. So I don't know. I stayed there for quite some time. And if the truth be told, we were going through we've been going through a challenging time with one of our adult children who has been diagnosed with a pretty life altering mental illness.
Uh-huh.
And as a mom of an adult child, it's different than being a mom of a younger child. And this whole notion of, and not notion, but this whole practice, this whole struggle of letting go, kind of what I want, what I want the outcome to be, to align with that larger story, truly of grace. In the end, like that larger story is something I really related to. And so, yeah, I lingered there, and this song was a result of it.
You are writing a song and then you have a personal experience going on, which is an unpleasant one. And then Gethsemane surrender aligns with that because God the Father was watching his son go through a similar thing and wondering and looking at him and saying, okay, I'm going to allow you to go through that suffering, but at the end, there's hope. Have you felt any kind of hope seeing your son going through this trying time as a mom?
Well, that's an interesting question in and of itself, because I think that I actually began this whole pursuit with my spiritual director. She encouraged me actually to do spiritual direction because I couldn't write. When my son was diagnosed, and just through that whole process, I think that grief can do this, right? It paralyzes you sometimes, and that part of me that could write melodies, I couldn't write. I couldn't find the melodies. I could find, like, I was able to journal through that. And Carolyn said, Bev, why don't you just get a spiritual director and work through the grief, like get her to help you work through that. And so I did. And hope, in fact, double was that's what I was struggling with. Not the meta hope. Like, I know the whole story and I believe the whole story, but
Hmm.
this is humongous word. Like it's big and it's little. It's like, I hope I can make it to the washroom in time. You know what I mean? I hope there's this little thing, there's this hope is big. And I think I can safely say in this particular kind of situation, where we didn't see it coming, maybe some things you see coming. This was a one none of us saw coming. I just struggled with hope.
Yeah.
Really, really, and it was an honest struggle. Like it was just, and I think God could take my honest struggle. So did I see hope? Well, it's interesting because through this whole experience in the Ignatian exercises, which lasted 10 months, I journaled through the whole thing, and then about in month 3, well, first of all, I should just say the very first night I spent that hour just with Jesus, like it was just this, and it's in a bit of a structure. I came down to the piano, and for the first time in 5 years, I had a riff. One little line, ready and waiting for me. That's it. That was my line. But it gave me hope. Like I hadn't lost it, right? It was still there somewhere. And then I think over the next few months, God continued to just touch that. Also, I'm going to call it paralyzed. I don't know if it was broken. I mean, my heart was broken for sure, but
Mm-hmm.
piece of access to melody and piece to accessing how I could express what I was feeling in song, which I'd always been able to do. I just couldn't access. So yeah, I think my hope was restored. But when I say that, I don't say it lightly, because like I wrote 40 songs in 10 months, which I've never done. Like that's just not how I write.
It's amazing.
And when I looked over my shoulder at all the songs, I bet you there were 17 that were all about hope in its varying forms. And in fact, I did that album in 2023 called Hope Seeds. And that's 14 of those songs of the 40 around hope. So that kind of unpacks my story around the hope side of things. But I still felt there was something more God wanted me to release into the world from that gift of grace, because like these songs were grace received. If you understand the context, I didn't know if I could write again. Right. And so just being able to not only write 1 or 2 songs, but this floodgate of complete like download, outpouring, anointing, whatever you want to call it. However, not every song you write, you record and release. But I really sensed there were some of these songs that would be for other people, maybe not going through the exact struggle we were going through, but who
Right.
really understood what it means to just be looking for hope, what it really means to lay something down now I'm not sure I sweat blood, but like I've shed a lot of tears and
Yeah.
how, I think people can relate to it. So yeah, Gethsemane Surrender on the album, it probably is the one that is closest to my heart. I mean, I love all these songs, but that one, and I gotta say, Gethsemane Surrender isn't just a one and done either. Like, sure, I wrote that in that context, but I've had to visit that garden, like more than that, and lay and release things to the Lord and His greater story, even beyond that particular situation.
Yeah. I have to say that it's amazing that you wrote 40 songs in 10 months, but experiences give us, it drives us to pray. And our prayers sometimes become songs. And then your journal, sometimes you're writing, and sometimes you're writing those things. Those things become songs. So it's that full experience that expresses itself in the music that you've done.
You're so right. And okay, so here's the other thing about, this whole, I'll talk about the whole experience, because the album to me, as I say, it's really an output of something I never anticipated. Here I am in Surrey with, having dinner with my friend Carolyn, suggesting this. And then 4 months later, I have a spiritual director. 6 months later, like, it's not something I went, okay, I'm going to sit down and write 40 songs. It wasn't like that at all. This is why for me, this is grace received. It was pure gift, pure gift, a pure act of mercy and love from our Father. And it also, you're right, it gave me an opportunity to not only process what was going on through the lens of Jesus' life, right? But it gave me an opportunity to express it in the way that I know best how to express it, and that's in music.
Yeah. I want to ask you, you are seeing this happening to your son.
Yeah.
How has he been doing through this experience?
Oh, you know what? I don't know how to answer that question, to be honest. It's it's a very difficult situation. So
Yeah. So how has it challenged your faith?
Well, I think mostly I struggle with hope. And I mean, I think the Ignatian exercises really help me, do some of that reconciling. And so much of it is about trusting. And so much of it is about releasing control of the outcomes and knowing that God is good no matter what the outcome is. His goodness doesn't depend on, whether my son is healed. And he's got the bigger story. I still struggle with that. Like, I'm not going to lie. It's not easy. And, but I think, there's just more of a dependency. It's interesting. You were saying, God, his father, uh, was relating to his son. Well, that's one of the things I related to in this whole 10-month experience, like God, the father and his son, me, a mother and my son. You know what I'm saying? It's like a parent loving your child. And so, yeah, I mean, I think from a faith perspective, for sure, it's restored my hope. I think there is no other way for this. The medical field, the medical folks that we work with, they're at their wits' end. This is only for God. So I say we, my husband, we in our family, we stake our trust and our hope and the assurance in a God who's good, in a God who is faithful, and a God who has the way bigger story in mind that I may not see right at the minute.
Yeah, you said something that is very, very powerful. That the God isn't good based on the outcome. He's not good because things are going well. And it's in that type of faith that we grow and we become grounded in Christ, because it takes that groundedness for us to see through the pain and still trust in God despite what's happening.
It's interesting you say that, because I think truly in suffering, that's where it goes, right? That's where it goes if you follow in his steps. Like, I know that's kind of this biblical sort of passage from First Peter, but I really mean that. And I think that's why doing the Ignatian exercises the way I did it in that 10-month, like literally following Jesus, you just walked with him right through all of those places. So okay, I'll even say, like, on the album, especially Grace Received, because the first chunk of it, maybe the first 5 or 6 songs, really it's way more about what happens in Holy Week, right? Like, it's about Gethsemane, it's about the table of forgiveness, it's about after the earthquake, it's about Oh Jerusalem. These are some of the songs, but they're kind of my take on that through my lens of exactly what you're just saying. And then the second part of the album moves into more of what does grace embodied look like, but again, still using the life of Jesus. Like, one of the songs is Stay with Truth, and that was inspired by Jesus in the courtyard, with Pilate. Where, are you kidding me? Like, what's true here? And another one is called Basic Things, and that is really when Jesus was in the temple with the leaders, and sort of going, you guys have missed the whole point. Like, this is not about following rules. This is way more about love and compassion and mercy and extending kindness. That's like, it's sort of like Jesus' take on leadership. So yeah, like, I really followed him in this. But I do think at the point of suffering, which of course the climax in my view is both Gethsemane and on the cross, the suffering, it's, and well, just that whole bit, it's, and maybe even more than that, because I think the table, like where he had the Last Supper, I think that was tough too, honestly, because, there you are eating with friends who full well are going to betray you. Like, if you've ever been betrayed, that's quite a suffering in and of itself. So yeah, I mean, it's just when you follow Jesus through these points and you really, truly, really get inside of it, I think your faith has to grow. Your dependency on Jesus has to grow, because he has gone there first. That he truly is a man who has been acquainted with sorrow.
Yep.
And with grief, right? You this through his life story. And so, yeah, you're right. Like, it's this whole experience is why I called it Grace Received, because, I knew the stories. I've known the stories my lifetime, but going to this depth and then having this incredible experience of being able to express it in these songs it's a bit mind-blowing, and I see it as a gift.
Yeah, and it is a gift. So you have applied your music to ministry and to healing. How do you see persons who are going through different ailments respond to the spiritual healing aspect through the music?
Room 217 began just after my dad died. He was in room 217 at a hospital. This was long, like this was over 20 years ago now. And he had been in a large Toronto hospital for a lot of months with a life-threatening illness, and nobody had offered him music. And this was long before the days of streaming apps and that sort of thing.
Right.
So, when we had this beautiful experience around Dad's bedside, my brothers and sisters, I'm one of six, and my mom, we were all around his bedside and we were singing the hymns he loved as he was dying. It was remarkable at so many levels. That in and of itself is like, talk about how the effect of music spiritually on somebody who's dying. My dad was a man of faith, so it literally accompanied him, as he took his last breath. So that's a beautiful story. But I remember coming from that experience and thinking, do caregivers really understand the power of music in living and in dying? And like, because of the experience we'd had with nothing given to us as caregivers in the hospitals he was in, I'm going, I wonder if they have the tools. I wonder if they have the training. Music therapists are awesome, but they're not everywhere.
Right.
It's limited where they are, and they can't be there all the time, right? So there's got to be another way we can get music to people that's designed especially for those vigil moments when you're in a bed, in a room where somebody's dying, and sort of the air is still, not, So that's kind of what I've been chasing down. And to be honest, those are the two questions. Some 20 years later, we've started a foundation, a not-for-profit registered charity. We have a team, a staff. We're national. Like, you'll find us in a lot of hospices and long-term care homes and some hospitals. And so we create tools, and tools would be things like designed music for palliative care. And when I say design, we slow it down. We go in and record it at 60 beats per minute in a very gentle way. Excuse me. We have a dementia singing program that's made. So we have a singing host that does all that work for the caregiver. These kinds of things. We do a lot of training. We've trained over 5,000 caregivers to integrate music into their regular practice. And now we have a certification program. So it's come a long way. So how have I seen, I think your question was, how have I seen music, kind of the spiritual impact of music? Well, there's a couple of ways I'll answer that. Certainly from a faith perspective. Yes. People of faith, often it's an anchor for them. Songs can often say the things that we find hard to say, especially if you have become nonverbal. Yeah, that's true. Through a disease or even through medication, songs can actually express. They can be a spiritual expression. So from a faith perspective, that's a very powerful thing. We know, I've watched it with my own eyes. I've had 2 loved ones die of dementia and Alzheimer's disease. They remember the words. Maybe not at the very, very end, but certainly even up to the end, they can sing along. They might not remember your name or what they've had for breakfast, but they can sing a song of faith that means a lot. That's deeply embedded, deeply embedded in their heart, but also in their neural pathways. So that's pretty powerful, I think. I think that's a very powerful application. Absolutely. Now, there's another way the healthcare system uses the term spiritual, and that is sort of in a more existential way, like purpose and meaning. And I talk to both of them because this is a ministry that goes beyond just Christians, right? Like, people use our music, people of other faiths use music, but music can really help with just helping express meaning and the whys. I think a lot of popular music can do that and express really great sentiments, for example. But certainly faith music can do that too. So it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And I think especially in those, I'll call them those sacred spaces where people are dying, music becomes this very, very special way of relating. I'll put it that way.
And that's what I wanted to talk about, because I know that it's applied in many different ways. And when you look at the response of persons who listen to the music, it changes perception, it encourages, it improves mood, and all that kinds of different things. And many studies have been there on the impact of the different genres of music.
Oh, well, listen, I mean, if you want to start talking about outcomes, and here's the thing, because like I'll talk more broadly, not even just about what we do. I mean, we've built like our stuff, but I could tell you lots of outcomes of just what we do, but there's lots of other things beyond what we do. But I mean, music improves quality of life. And so we're talking about those existential things. We're talking about pain. We're talking about mood. We're talking about cognition and memory. We're talking about even the biological stuff. Like, I don't know how much you know about this, but like music can help people rehabilitate in walking, learning to walk again, or learning to speak again. These are the kinds of things that are being done. And this is how it's being used in terms of outcome. That's for quality of life, I would say, measures, quality of care measures as well. So, I think what I was expressing to you is just even how music can deepen the quality of relationship between a caregiver and the one they're coming alongside. Just even in our certification program with homes we've been certifying, we've had lots of stories of PSWs. I think in your province you call them healthcare aides.
Yeah.
Doing the personal work, like of hygiene and so toileting and brushing teeth and getting changed and that sort of thing, which can often be a very difficult situation. But if they start humming a song, the tasks go easier. There's more cooperation, and these are things that people have tracked and marked and actually researched.
Yeah.
And then there's the other side of it is, we're really interested in culture change and system change in what we do at Room 217, and there can be savings of economical savings. There was a study published last June that showed for every dollar spent in meaningful music engagement and dementia care, it saved the system $2.40. Right? So we're not just talking airy and fluffy here. We're talking about
Real results.
This can really change not just the atmosphere, not just the relationship, but there's a potential here for systemic change.
Yeah, and that's the broader purpose of what you're doing. How would you compare therapeutic type of music to traditional gospel music?
Well, that's interesting. I've never been asked that question. I guess it has to do with intentionality. Why you're using the music. I mean, you could say though, like I've never been asked this question, so I'm thinking on the spot here, but it's interesting because I would say that music for the soul, which would be gospel music, perhaps, kind of music I write personally, at some level that is therapeutic. It is meant for healing. It is meant for wholeness. It is meant for that coming alongside and encouraging people, right? And even, I don't know, I think maybe it depends what your intention is. If you're going to be using music for healing, but where does that line begin and end, say in gospel or Christian, like contemporary Christian music, where does it begin and end? Because when you're worshiping, you are inviting people into the healing presence of God, a space where you're asking him to be present. And in his presence, he's bringing healing and wholeness. So yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question.
The next song I selected is Table of Forgiveness. And I love that song because what it represents, community, unity, forgiveness, and that's a big one that so many persons have challenges with because of the hurt that has been done, right? And it also represents that diversity because the society has a lot of fear in it. And when you watch what the video was saying, all different types of persons were coming in to sit at the same table to enjoy that community. And I want to play that song and we can follow up on the conversation after.
Bless this food, we pray, remembering together one who died and is risen, coming again. Christ our sacrifice, in this sacred moment, Open our eyes to see, our hearts to believe. Table of forgiveness, gracious invitation, feasting on the bread and wine. Table of forgiveness, mercy is extended, everyone is welcome to the table of forgiveness.
Nourish us within, remembering together the place where prejudice falls away. Christ our sacrifice, reconciling presence, show the way of love, the walk of peace. Table of forgiveness, gracious invitation, feasting on the bread and wine. Table of forgiveness, mercy is extended, everyone is welcome to the table of forgiveness. There is no condemnation, only grace received. New covenant of restoration, once for all. There is no condemnation, only grace received. New covenant of restoration, once for all. Table of forgiveness, gracious invitation, feasting on the bread and wine. Table of forgiveness, mercy is extended, everyone is welcome to the table of forgiveness. To the table of forgiveness. To the table of forgiveness.
That song in itself has several messages. Of course, the biggest one is forgiveness and healing. But and of course, as you just mentioned, there isn't one song or one definition of how gospel music is presented in healthcare or otherwise. And that's one of those songs. What inspired that song for you?
As I said before, this is a place where Jesus actually did the forgiving as he was serving.
Yeah,
Right. And that's a pretty amazing example right there in terms of following him in being faithful. Because sometimes, sometimes we're in those situations where we know we're not being treated properly,
yeah,
and we need to, we just need to be in that spirit of releasing the justice. Like, because to me, that's what forgiveness is. It's about releasing the justice of what's not right into the hands of the Father, who's going to deal with it.
yeah,
But I love this table of forgiveness song too, because it like, this is the place of belonging, even though, like, I offend and I've been offended. I sit in both, right? I've been an offender and I've been an offended.
of course.
But we all get to come, no matter what we've done, or no matter what's been done to us. We all get to come to the table of forgiveness. And that's my friend Mike Jansen singing with me there.
Yeah,
That song, really appreciated him singing. That means a lot to me, that he sang on that song. And yeah, I think this song is rich with meaning for lots of people. I think you come to this song sort of with your own experience. When we did the video, that you're right, it was beautiful. Like the first gentleman that came in is an elder, First Nations elder, and the second, the mother daughter are some friends, and yeah, there's like every single one of those humans that entered that story. There is an absolute story
Yeah.
of forgiveness in each of those characters.
Yeah, and I saw that when I was watching. I was like, oh, and it tells the story without even asking any more questions, right? And that's beautiful. Are there any songs that has been personally meaningful to you?
Well, I guess Somebody Surrender is pretty strong because I have to keep coming back, right? And same with Table of Forgiveness. You have to keep coming back, right? Well, I really love O Jerusalem. At O Jerusalem, it's really interesting because we think about Palm Sunday as palm branches and Hosanna, Hosanna, but actually I wrote this song, and this is one of those songs that just came to me. Like I didn't have to work hard at it. I probably wrote it in 20 minutes, which is not my normal process at all. Like it's a little more work than that. But this is one that just kind of downloaded itself. But it's really much more about after that. It's more about Jesus' lament over the city of Jerusalem and how much he loves them and how much he longs for them. And
Yes.
just I want to be with you. I want you to be with me. And it's like, it's the other part of the story of Palm Sunday we don't typically tell,
Mm-hmm.
that lament part. And that's particularly, again, it's that other side, that
Yeah.
longing for somebody you love, in a sense when it's unrequited,
Yes.
or in a sense when you're going to be betrayed, right? So, yeah, that's a strong song. I guess I love the last song too, Grace Received. It's just a short instrumental, but it was the 40th song. It was the 40th song that came, and I knew it was ending. I kind of knew by the 39th song. Not that I guess I was counting by then, because at the 27th song, because this was kind of over a period of 6 months that this happened. By the 27th song, my husband came in. He goes, "Okay, God's doing something here. I'm just not going to make any more comments," because it was sort of like it was almost an obsession. You know what I'm saying? It was almost like every time I showed up at the keyboard, there was this new thing. So, and that's just not how it's gone for me in how I write. So, yeah, I think Grace Received was also very special because I knew it was ending, and I got a bit emotional, and literally I just sat at this keyboard. I mean, oh, you can't see it, but I have
Yeah.
my office. I have a small keyboard, and then I have a larger piano in outside. But I just sat at this keyboard and closed my eyes, and tears showing down my face, and I just wrote this song, and it just wrote itself. And then Philip Jans, who's produced the album, did a beautiful job of arranging it. And a good friend of mine musician friend of mine in Toronto, Drew Jureka, who he himself is Jewish, played the violin on O Jerusalem and on Grace Received, those two songs. So just that combination of all of that, I love those two songs a lot. They're close to my heart.
Yeah. I got a chance to speak with Philip and Brenda some time ago, so I know the kind of flavor that he brings to.
What a gift! Okay, that is a Grace Received in and of itself. I did my last two albums with Philip, and what an experience working with him. He's truly gifted, truly gifted musician, truly gifted technician, and just a truly wonderful human. So that's another Grace Received. And when I reached out to him before Hope Seeds, because we did these last two albums together, he just was so taken by our story, and just entered right into the production process with me. And I just love working with him. And Brenda's just she's on the album as well. She sings some of the background vocals, and just they've become dear friends. Yeah.
And I can see that because when I was speaking with them, I saw how very powerful they were, but they were so you can't even tell that they're doing that type of work with gospel music because of just the energy is just very calm. And then when you hear the music, you recognize that they're doing a lot of wonderful work. in the
So
background.
understated, so humble. Yeah. And I guess the other song I should say too, because you love gospel music, there is a gospel tune on this called "I'm Set Free," and this was an interesting one because I had actually started that song. I had started some years ago. I just hadn't finished it, but because of this Ignatian journey, I went back to it, and I went, okay, I know how to finish this now, and it is an explosion. It's kind of like. I actually had to just to even play the piano part myself because I can often hear gospel. I just don't always know how to, it's just not and I mean I do sing it and stuff, but I had a friend who helped me just do a little bit of the voicing because as you know, the voicing's a bit different. So that was a ton of fun and it's a well, I mean the album itself, like it's got songs, but I mean it's got a Hebraic song, like an Israeli song with O Jerusalem. It's got this gospel song. It's got a Celtic song called Flow. So there's, but Philip was able to go, I said to him, Philip, if we put these songs on, because we always choose the songs together, I said, we put it, how are we going to make this work? Like they're just so extreme in terms of styles. And I want them done authentically, but he made it work and it, they work on the album. So, but I love I'm Set Free too. It's a completely different side of things. But honestly, this is that if, grace received, when you receive God's grace, you are set free. Yeah. That's the whole point. He doesn't want us, like I love Romans 8. It's sort of become the grounding, Romans 8, 1-4 is becoming the grounding verses for this album. And I love it in the Message. Eugene Peterson says, Jesus the Messiah resolved our fateful human dilemma. I love it. And if you go on to read that, it's all about the freedom and, we have. So that I don't know, I'm going to tell you every single song now, but I love those songs. They're close, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what is beautiful about doing this music and loving it. Share some of the moments in your journey that has inspired you or made you think twice about why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. Whenever I talk to classes, I often get invited to speak at faculties of music often, or other faculties, but especially in faculties of music. I always say to the students, it all counts because you just don't know. I've lived a few decades now. I had performance degrees before I even went to university, so I could easily just gone that whole route. I really love teaching, and that's what I did. I've always kept my chops up and my voice up and stuff, but that's what I loved. So, but then when I became a mom of 4 children, it was just really hard to teach in schools and be the, so. But by God's grace and just with the skills he's given me in music, I was able to sort of take it in a bit of a different direction.
Yeah.
And at that point, do a lot of freelancing in the Toronto area, which meant it just fit better with having younger children. And then, of course, with my dad, I had totally planned to go back into the classroom and teach music. As when our 4th child was entering school, but that was exactly the time when my dad was dying. And who knew? But listen, every single skill I've ever had, and even working summers in an office as a student has been put to use in Room 217. Every single skill, and of course, I've never stopped leading worship in whatever church I've been in. And so, but I guess the one thing I never thought I'd be doing is, solo albums. But just it's all kind of come. I don't know, just it's all made sense, right? And I think that's what I love about music. There's a lot of ways to skin the cat. There's a lot of ways it can go, and I think I love telling young people it all counts. And in music, especially, it's not always linear. It can bop around a little bit, and you just keep listening to the Lord too. Is like listen to where he's leading and what he's opening up and that sort of thing. But you don't always know. Like, as I say, with Room 217, it was not like I felt compelled. And it's amazing when you step out and do something like that, how many other people come around and want to be part of it. So yeah. That's a great question. I know you've asked me a couple of questions I've never been asked before tonight. So.
Yeah, and you've answered them very nicely and clearly. So thank you for doing that. When you are working on music. You walked us through that experience for that 10 months with your spiritual director. What inspires you then to keep going?
Oh, I don't think I'm done with these songs yet. I don't know that I'll make another album, but I have another creative idea. I mean, that's the thing. The creatives, our minds probably and our just that whole creative piece doesn't stop, really. And in a way, you're almost just inspired to do it again, but can't always just do it again. But I do have something I need to discern whether or not it's meant to be. Because I think my sense is that there is still one more piece I may need to do with what I've been given here, but that'll just take a bit more time for me to discern.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, listen, creative projects, I have to turn off the tap. That's more of the challenge.
When those challenges come, what's the first thing that you do?
Well, I mean, I think through it all, there's a sense of being connected to the Lord. Like, just, do I pray every second? I don't think so. But like, there's just this, it's an ongoing conversation, kind of, I guess. So when there's a challenge, I think that's what it means to walk in the Spirit, to be honest. But that's my experience, is just when you come up against something, okay, Lord, what is it that you want me to do? I'm not really sure. I'm listening. Just help me through this. So that's maybe at one level. At another level, I have found that in challenges, breaking it down helps. I like just taking it apart a bit more and putting it in steps. If it feels impossible, if it feels like, oh man, this is big. And then there's some challenges, maybe they're just meant to be let go of. And, but just, I say that with a smile, because I don't tend to quit on those kinds of things. I mean, unless I'm directed to. So it's kind of like, if there's a challenge, there's got to be a way through it. So sometimes you break it down. I mean, sometimes you just have to talk to people too. Like I find, especially in Room 217, I don't have all the answers. I have a fantastic team. And when we come up against a challenge, getting advice is good. It's always good to get advice.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's probably what I do. I might make a cup of tea at another level, you know what I mean? I may just step away and go do something else, go for a walk, make a cup of tea, and then you come back at it a bit fresher.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, when it's not music or training, what is Bev doing in the other aspects of your life?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, right at the minute, it's steady. It's pretty steady. Between our son and my mom's still alive, and so I spend some time with her, and we have children and we have some grandchildren, and so it's a full life. We're involved in our own community of faith, and we just we're involved. So, but I really enjoy walking a lot. I enjoy reading.
Okay, that's good. For young persons who are venturing into gospel music, young Christian artists who are creating music or yearn to create music, what advice would you give to them?
Just try to be yourself. Like, try not to copycat. I think I see a lot of copycats. And yeah, I mean, you want to be learning stylistic things for sure, but really try to find your own voice. And just make it authentic, make it honest. I think that goes an awfully long way. Another thing is just get tooled up, like really, really try to refine your skills as much as you possibly can. And probably another thing would be get a mentor, somebody who can maybe coach you a little bit. But yeah, I think some of it, sometimes I think just that the whole stardom thing and the whole celebrity thing is just a little bit over the top for me when it comes to gospel and contemporary Christian music. Sometimes I just wonder if we've forgotten the heart of it. And really, at the end of the day, it's something authentic with you and God, and dig deep into that. But I mean, I'm a big proponent of skills. So
yeah,
does that help?
That's good advice. That's all advice, because it's a challenge also to remain true to yourself while you're trying to do mainstream music, and mainstream music sounds a lot alike. So yeah, that's actually solid advice.
Yeah, just be authentic. Don't be anybody else.
Yeah. So as it pertains to future projects? I know you said you're not seeing another album coming anytime, but future projects, what is it that you're looking forward to doing next in terms of music?
Well, honestly, in Room 217, we're developing a web app with an AI component. So that's another mountain I'm climbing. But it has all to do with music delivery, right? In 2026. Again, there's just always mountains to climb. There's always new challenges. And honestly, if you keep a growth mindset,
Yeah.
it's really fun. No matter kind of what age and stage you're at, it's a lot of fun. So that is imminently, I'm literally working on that right now in Room 217. Personally, as I say, I'm still trying to discern. I think there's maybe one more thing in this set of 40 songs, maybe or maybe not. I'll probably know that in the next 6 months, and then should I sense that that's a green light, I will begin that project. And then there's other projects that that are a little more local or a little more musical projects around, but those are the big ones.
Yeah. So finally, I want to prick your brain a little bit. With the developments in AI, what's your thought on using it in the creative process for music?
Man, I'm still kind of working that out a bit. Like it is, it's unbelievable what it can do, right?
It is.
It's really, really unbelievable what it can do. It blows my mind. I'll give you an example. We were in a training recently, but this is on Room 217 side. And at the end of our standardized training, there might be like 25 caregivers, and this happened to be online. We actually do a collective songwriting experience.
Nice.
At the very end. And it's sort of like the 2 days of training. It's people's thoughts, it's key learnings, it's aha moments, it's their key takeaways. It could be any of that. So somebody said, let's put it into Suno. And I'm just going, oh man, because I know that tool, and unbelievable. It was like, okay, it was like a 4.5 minute song with everybody's because they took all the words and dumped it in and said we want it in Lady Gaga style. It's still a bit of a mind bend in terms of in I don't know 30 seconds what just happened.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. Like in something like that, I think it's fantastic. I don't know. I'm still trying to. I know there's just people that are real purists that say I'm not touching it and all that kind of thing, but I don't know. I've always viewed AI as a tool.
Yeah.
I guess I haven't viewed it as the be all and end all, because I don't know how a machine creates art completely. Like it does, but there's this other piece of it that's missing. For what I just explained to you, it was exceptional, right?
Yeah.
It was just this exceptional, way better than we could have pulled off, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if it could have maybe written Gethsemane Surrender with maybe quite the same thing that I can bring it as somebody who's lived this experience and am feeling it as I'm singing it, So I don't. Maybe we can talk about that another time, because I'm still not sure where I've landed, but because I like it as a tool. I haven't completely figured out where all the boundaries are and all the sort of the guardrails on it are for us. And I can certainly see that it could be threatening. There's no question about that.
Yeah. As you mentioned, though, it's a tool, and it will never be as authentic as you putting your heart into a story and an experience and writing a beautiful song from that. So yeah, thank you so very much for sharing all that wealth with us. Thank you so much for joining, for taking the time to be here with me.
Oh, thanks for the invitation. I really appreciate it, Derval, and all the best in the work you're doing as well.